NYC was powerful. For me, there was quite a few songs sung at all of the sessions that were meaningful, but the song that was the most meaningful to me was Living God, because in the lyrics it felt like it was letting me know that God will always be there to support me. And I feel that Chris Simmings' speech was really inspiring because he showed me that it doesn't matter what you look like, what people tell you, or what happens. All you have to do is push through it.
NYC was eye-opening to me and very inspirational. Made me look more into God and how much more He is than just Sunday in church. The most inspirational part of NYC to me was speakers. They just were like very powerful, and all their sermons were really touching.
Hot.
NYC was hot.
Yes! Coming in hot from Lecrae. Get it?
Yes.
Okay. So I really like the song Grace Like a Wave. It felt like it related to my life because no matter what bad times there are, you also have many good ones coming behind it, with the presence of God and believing in Him. I really like the speaker named Chris. He said this really moving speech about how amazing and great his life was until 8th grade, when he was diagnosed with a rare muscle disease. After he was struggling with his day-to-day life. He couldn't go to the bathroom by himself. He couldn't walk. He couldn't do all of the normal things. Having God in his life and believing, he was soon after able to walk again. He talked about how he was on stage at a church and he made a puddle and a mom had came up and cleaned up his pee and said nothing about it. She had the grace of God to not be able to make a big deal, and he felt so good about just, someone not making a big deal out of it. It just showed me that believing in God and the effect of God's come in many different ways. It's not all just going to be the same experience for everyone. It's going to be different.
This NYC was absolutely breathtaking. Definitely the worship, being able to be in a room with 10,000 other people just like me and realize that we're all there for one thing, and that's to worship Jesus and to learn more about Him. And then also to use skills and stuff that I've gotten as I've grown up, and then be able to put that into action with our project of building the planter boxes for the homeless. So that was really cool. So the song that really stuck out to me was Take You at Your Word, because there was this section in there where it says, you said your love will never give up. You said your grace is always enough. You said your heart will never forget or forsake me. You said I'm saved and you call me yours. And that just, every time we sung it, I couldn't sing it because it got me choked up, and there were a couple times that it almost brought me to tears, and I had to stop to hold it back. So that was probably the most meaningful one for me. So I would say Pastor Carly Bartlett, because what she was saying about the things that we hold on to with our own grasp instead of giving to Jesus to let Him handle it, really stuck with me. And I want to figure out with God and through prayer what things I hold on to that I don't give to Him that I should be, and how to let go of those things.
NYC was inspiring, but I just don't know how to explain it all. Oh, my Chris guy? Chris?
Yeah, or a speaker.
Yeah. So the speaker that stood out to me the most was Chris. He talked about how his life was completely normal and it was no different than anyone else's. One day in 8th grade, he woke up and couldn't walk. The thing that really stood out to me was with everything that happened that morning, when he woke up, it got worse and worse until the time he was told he wouldn't be able to walk again. He said those were his puddles. Another big thing for me was that he was walking, because they said that he would never be able to walk again, and he did. He said that no matter what happens in life, you can always pick yourself up and walk with God.
Okay. NYC was overwhelming. So, Chris said, it's not about you, it's about what he does through you. So I think that's really powerful coming from him, because he can't really walk or speak or function like a normal human being, but he's still doing amazing things. Like, he's coming out to NYC in front of thousands of people, and he's sharing his story, and I think that touched a lot of people. And then he said he wants your puddle. So he said Jesus, he wants your imperfections. He wants you for who you are. And you just have to focus on yourself and focus on Jesus, and you'll be just fine.
Oh, NYC was enlightening. It was really fun. I got to know a lot more people, or get to know a lot more people, because there was 10,000 of us. I learned I heard 2 new people, like 3 new singers I didn't know about. Bands, singers, same thing. I chose the word enlightening because, we're talking about Jesus and God, and, enlightening just came to me. So I felt like that it fit perfectly. Or the guy that peed his pants on stage.
Okay, and why was that?
Well, because he has all these troubles and stuff, but he still gets up every day, does it, doesn't care what other people think.
My time at NYC was perfect. So, going to church once a week, maybe twice a week, is great, but it's so easy to forget about God in the other 5 or 6 days. But here at NYC, we, worship God twice a day with sermons and worship, and bands come on stage and play music, and all 10,000 people together singing in the name of God, and it's a really enriching experience. And it's so much easier to appreciate God's work when you're surrounded by it every day, all day. And so it's kind of eye-opening to be here, and it gets me excited to go home and appreciate church more and pay more attention probably. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. It felt like my eyes were opened a little bit more to his power and his glory while I was here. So there was one song that was played a couple times. It's called Same God. And it reminds me about, so if you read the Bible, you'll hear stories of when Jesus was walking on earth and he was performing all these miracles, and God was working really loudly through people. And it seems like you don't see all these sightings of Jesus, you don't hear all these miracles as much, like turning water to wine, you don't hear stuff like that anymore. But this song says, you hear your children then, you hear your children now. You answered prayers back then, and you will answer now. You were providing then, you are providing now. You moved in power then, God, move in power now. You are the same God. So I thought I was really moved by those words, because it's like you don't see him working like they did, and you read stories of people really being there with them, and it's like, wow, that would have been cool, but that is cool. We are there. We are those people. So that song really meant a lot to me. I was thinking about those lyrics for actually a really long time. So that was really cool. One more thing I want to talk about was, it seemed like I have 3 speakers here. Lamoris Crawford, Rich Vallidos, and Chris Simming were all 3 people that had a troubling past. Lamoris grew up in southern Chicago and had trouble with drugs and alcohol and family issues and gang stuff and stuff like that. Rich grew up in, I think it was Mexico, somewhere. He wasn't in America, and he had same thing, really rough life, lots of issues growing up, and he wasn't a great kid. He was the kid that people want to stay away from. And Chris had a physical disability that didn't allow him to walk correctly, speak correctly, do lots of normal functions correctly. But God still uses all 3 of them, and he says He doesn't care about your past. He cares about what you're doing now and what you believe in. So it was really cool to see these people who probably thought that they were done for after they did all those terrible things. They probably thought, how can someone love me now? How can God forgive me now? But he always does. He always loves you and he always forgives you. So I thought that was really cool to see 3 people with troubling and hard pasts that are forgiven and that go and do what they want to do, that God's calling them to do. That was really cool.
All right, NYC was radical, and also it was just awesome, totally spectacular. I loved it here. I loved NYC. I really liked. I think his name was Chris. Dude, talking about puddles, wasn't that Chris? Yeah, that dude was super funny. He added that into his whole speech. It was incredible. Just the overcoming the fears and your obstacles that are in the way, and just keep going on with his speech.
A song that was meaningful to me was Call Me, I'm Yours by Royal Company. I love how loud and vulnerable people were talking to God. I love the lyrics, you call me to the deep end, I can barely swim, but if that's where you want me, God, I'm diving in. Because you might be struggling, you might not love what you're going through, but God is there with you, using the struggle for good. At NYC, I was changed. I am fired up with the Holy Spirit. NYC was powerful. The speakers demonstrated so much faith. The worship was loud and everyone was in God's presence. The kids here are awesome. I love them so much, even if we have never spoken. Because I feel that we all relate. We all let down our guards this week and let God change us. We were vulnerable, people cried, people yelled, and people praised him. And that alone was amazing. The water parks and hotels, the games and food did not compare to the joy and hope I felt during worship. I could not sit still. I could not tell people how fired up I was and am. God definitely changed my heart through worship and through this experience. I know I am loved, I know I am worthy of God's love, and I am a faithful servant to him. I am a child of God, and the devil, the anxieties, have no hold on me.
NYC was a super amazing, impactful experience. I definitely felt the presence of God with us the entire time. So one of the pastors was talking about 2 ways to be set apart and how the religious leaders have their way, and then there's Jesus's way, and the religious leaders look on the outside and they consider that holy, while Jesus looks on the inside. So I actually have a cool story where I really felt God talking to me. I was going through the room on the last day, and I was making sure nobody forgot anything, and I was picking up a bunch of forgotten stuff and cleaning up, and I was in a hurry and in a rush, and I wanted to get down to breakfast, but I felt like God was telling me to come and sit down with him. So I sat down with him and I talked with him, and I could feel God sitting with me. After that, we went to service, and the lady was talking about how when you hear God and you respond to him, how you can cause an effect in it. And I just thought that was really cool, and I kind of connected that with this morning and sitting down and talking to God. NYC is impactful and amazing and definitely worth it.